This is episode number 157 of the Guns Magazine podcast. Hi there, and welcome to the Guns Magazine podcast, one of the shooting world's biggest gun talk programs. I'm your host and the editor of Guns Magazine, Brent Wheat. Thanks for joining us as we talk to the interesting folks who make up the world of shooting, hunting, law enforcement, and the firearms industry. But first, here's a quick word about our sponsors. The presenting sponsor of the Guns Magazine podcast is the R7 Mako by Kimber. The R7 Mako is a high-capacity polymer frame striker-fired micro-compact from Kimber. Here's just a taste of what you get. 12 and 14-round total capacity with the flush and extended magazines, while the performance carry trigger has the smooth pull and clean break you'd expect from a high-end single-action handgun. The R7 also comes optics ready, or you can have it with optics already installed. Kimber's R7 Mako will feed your appetite for something different. See how at r7mako.com. Today is a momentous occasion. It's our birthday. The Guns Magazine podcast started November 1st, 2019, making this show 3 years old this week. During that time, we've grown from a fun side project to a major player in the gun podcast market. Each week we have thousands of dedicated listeners, and that makes us, and you, pretty unique in the gun world. I can't thank all of you enough for our success. This episode almost didn't happen because of some things I'll explain momentarily, so without further ado, let's jump right in on this third birthday episode of the Guns Magazine podcast, which I'm calling Editor at the Mic. Well, I suppose we should start the interview portion of the episode with a rousing chorus of happy birthday, but I'm not going to do that. If you choose to sing, please knock yourself out. We'll wait for you. As I mentioned, this is the 3-year anniversary of the Guns Magazine podcast. This is episode number 157. Actually, technically, it's episode 158 because there was a prologue that wasn't numbered, but actual interview shows or long format discussion, this is episode number 157. And of everything that we've done on this show, I'm really proud of the audience. But I'm also really proud. I don't believe we have ever missed a week. I didn't go back and check 157 weeks, but I don't believe we ever missed one. Don't even think we've been late in terms of days. There were a few episodes I remember came out pretty late in the evening because of, life getting in the way and getting in the way of the editor. But I don't believe we've missed a Friday public. No, I take that back. We did miss one and came out, I believe, on Saturday. But anyway, we've done a pretty good job of keeping this thing scheduled, and it's a lot of work, but it's really rewarding. And as I said, I'm very happy and touched that our audience has grown so big. Now, this is going to be an abbreviated episode and a little shorter than normal. Honestly, it almost didn't happen. This week has been pretty challenging. We had to get the edition of the magazine sent up to production, which means I have to do all of my work, get it all packaged up, and then send it to our great production folks at the home office. And doing a monthly magazine, that gets a little challenging at times, but I got that done on Monday. And then I was so happy I got a new computer. My old computer, it was 10 years old, steam powered. Actually, this podcast episode will be the final thing that I will ever do on this computer, because once I get the episode edited and packaged and we send it up to our folks to get it all published and all that, I'm going to shut down this computer and it's going away. I'm actually thinking about how we could do some kind of video shooting or maiming it, because we all have a love-hate with computers. But anyway, it's been as you can imagine, I've got a lot of computer files, photo files, 80,000 some photos, and all that had to be transferred over to the new computer. And while you're doing stuff like that, you have to, reorganize your emails and et cetera, et cetera. So we're recording this Friday morning, and it's taken me till Friday morning from starting out Monday afternoon to get all that done. So anyway, life should be better for me, but I didn't have a guest scheduled. I hadn't even thought about the podcast until I was sitting there last night going, hey, it's almost Friday and we got nothing. So then I realized it was our birthday, and I thought we at least have to have the episode. So here we go. I'm going to run down a few things that the listeners have asked about or points they've wanted to know, and we're going to just kind of run down some current events and future upcoming things, and then we'll get out of here and we can go on with our lives. Well, first off, let's talk about my knee. Now, I don't know that my experience having a knee replacement was all that unique or special, but I did share it with our listeners and our readers in Guns Magazine. And as I've said, it really got a lot of email, probably the most email of anything we've done since I've been here. If you hadn't listened to that episode or read my story, I had a knee that was going out and finally told I needed a brand new knee, a full knee replacement. And I did that. I got that done May 14th, I believe it was. And the interesting thing and the genesis for my story and then the podcast episode was I went into it very naive. I talked to a lot of friends and they said, oh, it's a wonderful thing and you need to get it done and blah, 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 blah. So we got it scheduled, and I was going to the gym, making sure I built up my especially my leg muscles and the ligaments and all that stuff. And I'd lost some weight and, just trying to be healthy. And because I was going to come out of that knee surgery with an A+ gold star. And I even told work, I'll be back to work in a few days. I'll be off the pain medication. It's all good. Well, it didn't work out that way. Maybe I'm just a giant wuss, but I now have talked to a lot of folks and I feel better. I've even talked to medical professionals. I feel better about the fact that knee surgery is horrible and awful. And when you talk to folks that are 3 or 4 years out from it, all they remember now is now they can walk. And I got to say, now we're almost 6 months out. I just went to the doctor yesterday for a routine checkup, and he asked about it. And I said, I'm just getting to the point where I can see why I had it done. We've had a couple of things we've had to do here lately, even went hiking, and I can do that now. And that really makes a huge difference in my life. And if you're facing knee surgery, it'll make a huge difference in your life. However, listen to me, it'll be worse than what they tell you. They won't kind of share everything that's going on, but you can get through it. It'll be fine. Get it done and make sure you do the rehab. You do your exercises. But once it's done, I'm just now coming to that point 6 months out that I can see why, and it's a good thing. And I'm getting back to being pretty active. So the knee is doing fine. Other than my whining for the last 6 months, everything's good. So for all those folks that wrote and emailed, I appreciate that. And it was interesting hearing all your stories. And for those of you that said you were just getting ready, you were at the point I was, or you were just a little bit ahead of where I was, I hope you're all doing great. And maybe we need to have a grand follow-up one of these days. We can all talk about our various and sundry surgeries. Topic number 2, emails. Well, I've said before that I'm not the world's greatest about staying on top of our reader emails. As you imagine, we get a lot of emails, and I'll let you in on a little secret. Most magazines have like an assistant junior editor to take care of that, and we don't. We are very unique across the publishing world, and even outside of firearms. If you send me an email to editor@gunsmagazine.com, you know who's going to see that? Me. I actually answer those, or sometimes I choose not to. I feel bad. There's lots of emails that I just don't have time to deal with or even respond to. But rest assured, if you send an email and it didn't get caught up in the spam filter, I at least will see it. And I try to do my best about answering folks, answering questions, and commenting. Every once in a great while, there's some pretty non-pleasant stuff, but fortunately, though, that's few and far between. But I bring this up because, as I said about my recent computer move, I found a whole bunch of emails. So if I didn't answer you, I may still not answer you, but if you've sent an email probably in the last 6 to 8 months, there was many of them sitting out there in the spam folder that I, for whatever reason, didn't see. And when I was rejiggering all of the emails and resetting up my email program, I found some. So don't be surprised if you get a reply to your email of 6 months ago. Just letting you know, I do read emails from readers, and my apologies in advance if I don't respond. Now let's talk about gun cranks. For those of you that know, Gun Cranks is a video series. It's got its own channel on YouTube, and we're over a year old now. It started out as a video series with Tom McHale, my counterpart at American Handgunner, and Roy Huntington, who, when Tom and I first started here, Roy was the publisher of both Guns and American Handgunner. Roy has now taken well-earned retirement, and his title is Special Assignments Editor, and he basically lives the dream. He gets guns and stuff and does a lot of videos. He writes some stories. He does a lot of cover stories for me. But he's having fun out there in Missouri at Roy's place. And we've been doing these periodic Gun Cranks video series. We just changed it 2 months ago, I believe. We are bumping it up to once a week. They were once every 2 weeks, and we realized that folks want to see it more than that. So we're doing it every week, and we expanded to include some other folks in our wheelhouse. So now you will probably still see Roy, Tom, and I a lot, but you're also going to see Ashley McGee, who's our digital editor, and Eric Gelhaus, who is the editor of AmericanCop.com, and sometimes even Nick Lenz, who is our producer and videographer, video producer here at Publishers Development Corporation. So depending on what the topic is and who's available and what time we record the episode, you may see any or all of those folks. So it's growing in popularity, and we decided that to answer a couple of reader questions, now there is an audio-only version. So we have a Guns Magazine podcast that you've been listening to. Now we have a Gun Cranks podcast, and it's the audio from the video series, because we've had folks ask us that, you know, they like listening to it, but when they're driving to work, you can't be watching video or, you know, wherever you're at. So there's times when audio works a lot better. So we've answered that, and there's now a Gun Cranks podcast. You can check that out the same places where you can find the Guns Magazine podcast, all the various directories, Spotify, Google, Apple, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and of course at our websites. So the Gun Cranks, you'll have to go to AmericanHandgunner.com and check out the podcast. That's Tom McHale is kind of riding herd on that, so he gets to claim the territory. So check it out in a directory or AmericanHandgunner.com. And right now, I believe there's 11 or 12 episodes, and we're going to try and maybe get all of the old episodes up. But check it out and let us know. Subscribe to us. Tell us what you think. So if you like the Gun Cranks, continue to watch us on YouTube, but you can also now download the podcast version. Talking about things coming up, there are two that I want to mention. The SHOT Show. We talk about that a lot, the Shooting, Hunting, Outdoor Trade Show that has been in Vegas for the last several years, but it's been all over the country, and it's the big Mohane in our industry. Everything and everybody who's anything in the shooting, hunting, outdoor trades is there in Vegas, and I've said it's kind of like the Indy 500, Daytona, Paris Fashion Show, July 4th, all of it wrapped into one. Everybody complains about it. It's too big, too much, just over the top with everything, but nobody ever misses it. So a cool thing this year is the Guns Magazine podcast will be broadcasting from the show. Now, we'll probably do a live podcast from there, but more importantly, every day, January 17th through the 20th, we're going to do a live wrap-up broadcast every day at 5 p.m. local time Vegas, which would make it 8 p.m. on the East Coast and the various time zones in between. So we're not sure exactly which platforms it'll be on, probably Facebook, probably YouTube, but we're still working all that out. But be looking forward to, we will have Tom McHale and myself, and who knows who else we might get in there. And we will do a wrap up of the show. We're also probably going to do a bunch of other stuff that we haven't all nailed down yet, but I think it's really important. We want folks to know that if you want to get the live to the minute stuff of what's going on at the SHOT Show, you can check us out on our social media, live broadcast. And the cool thing about social media is you can leave a comment, you can ask a question, and hopefully we can get to some of that stuff. So it'll truly be an interactive experience. I'm also hoping, because we'll be based on what's called Radio Row, which is right out front of the main hall. So everybody has to pass us. And I'm really hoping on Radio Row, we'll see a lot of the celebrities that come to the SHOT Show and support the Second Amendment, and we'll be able to drag them, coerce them, or hold them at gunpoint and get them on live, whether on the podcast or our live broadcast or whatever. So anyway, keep that in mind and check out our live broadcast every day at 5, and should be a good time. Speaking of live, next Wednesday, November 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, our Second Amendment correspondent and gun writer Dave Workman and I are going to break down the election. There has been so much discussion about the potential fallout from this coming Tuesday's midterms. And Dave, as I said, is our kind of political correspondent and our Second Amendment correspondent. So we were talking on the phone the other day about what this may mean, and we kind of mutually came up with the idea, well, why not get out there, do it absolutely live on Facebook, and be able to take questions and comments and all that. So next Wednesday, 8 p.m., Dave Workman and myself, we will be live answering questions and discussing what personally I think is going to be a red wave, but I guess we'll see, won't we? So check that out next Wednesday, 8 p.m. And our final item on this episode is the reader survey. Through the month of November, we're doing a reader survey. We've been wanting to do this for a while, and we finally got it put together. Thank you to Ashley McGee for getting that rolling. The cool thing is, if you take the survey, you can register to win a prize package that includes an ADCO pump shotgun, a dehumidifier, and a Tops Knife Sheep Creek model. That's not easy to say. Tops Knife Sheep Creek model. You can win that prize package, and even on top of that, everybody who takes the survey will also receive the 2022 Old West Guns and Gear Special Edition. That's a $9.95 value. You get a PDF download. So please go to gunsmagazine.com. There's a link on there to take the survey. You can only do it once, but you take the survey, should take about 5 minutes, and I really would like folks to do that because that helps set the tone. We think we know what you, the readers, the listeners, want to see and hear, but until we actually poll you, we don't know. So we've gotten some really interesting and great information. The survey has gotten far more responses than we thought it would already. So hopefully we'll get a nice big bump from all the Guns Magazine podcast listeners to come in and let us know what you think about our website and our magazines and just overall what we do. So let us know what you think. Let us know what you do like, what you don't like, what you want to see more of, because I'll tell you, as an editor, it's tough sometimes. You get queries from writers and they say, hey, I want to write about this, want to write about that. And you go, I don't know. Have we covered it too much? Have we not covered it enough? And that's why these surveys are so important. So go to gunsmagazine.com, take a survey, register to win a prize package, and also receive your Old West Gears and Guns Special Edition. Well, that's it as we close out on this special birthday edition episode, third birthday at the Guns Magazine podcast. And I've said it already, but truly, I want to thank you, the listener, for all the support and input we've received. And please make sure, if you haven't, you subscribe, and please share some of it on your own social media. Our audience is great and still growing, but we could really use your help, and I would personally thank you. So that's it for this episode, and we will see you next week with some more great stuff. I hope you enjoyed today's abbreviated show and are going to keep coming back for another year and another and another and so on. If you enjoyed today's episode, here's a couple more you might check out. First off, episode 114 is called Where the Mildew Grows, about surplus stores. Another favorite was episode number 130, The Day I Got Shot, which discusses a little mishap I had on the range. And finally, you can listen to episode that so far has garnered the most email. That would be episode number 137, called Knee Pain, about my recent knee replacement that I mentioned in today's show. If there's a topic you want to hear, somebody you'd like us to interview, or you want to share your thoughts, please drop me a line at editor@gunsmagazine.com. As always, you can find us on your favorite podcast directory, YouTube, and at gunsmagazine.com. And of course, while you're online, don't forget to check out our great sister publications, American Handgunner Magazine at AmericanHandgunner.com, AmericanCop.com, and our numerous special editions available for sale on our websites and at Amazon. And don't forget to check out our new presenting sponsor, the R7 Mako by Kimber. Learn more at r7mako.com. That's it for this episode of the Guns Magazine podcast. For the entire staff at FMG Publications, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat. Now get out there and get shooting.